Morning Glory is a 1933 film written by Zoe Akins and Howard J. Green, directed by Lowell Sherman, and stars the brilliant Katharine Hepburn. And Hepburn plays an actress called Eva Lovelace, and I have to say, I love that name. I don't know why exactly, well, maybe because it reminds me of Ada Lovelace, and I just love the name Eva, but there was just something about that name that's going to stay with me. And I love the character as well. She's an actress who's trying to get into Broadway. And it's all about her meeting other actors and other people involved in productions on Broadway and trying to make a name for herself. But whether or not she succeeds, well, I'm not going to say. It's really delightful. There's a particularly great scene at this. She's at a party and she gives this performance, this Shakespearean performance. It was maybe an unsolicited performance. Whether or not all of the other guests really wanted to see her doing this is up for debate, but it was wonderful to watch, and I thought Hepburn gave a fantastic performance. And I think for anybody who's ever trying to make it in any creative world, I think you'll find her determination really beautiful, really infectious, and relatable. And I thought she was an absolute joy to watch. It's definitely driven by her character. I feel like the actual events are not necessarily that interesting. It's not the most action packed. We do have some other characters who are quite interesting. We have Rita Vernon, played by Mary Duncan. She was quite a fascinating character, and I was generally interested in what she brought to this, but absolutely it was all about Eva Lovelace and her involvement with other people, some people who would, support her and thought she would do really well, some people not so much. And ultimately I really enjoyed it, and I thought it was really fascinating. There is one thing that I thought was an interesting perspective, but it happens at the end, so I'll discuss that in a moment. But I really thoroughly enjoyed Katharine Hepburn's performance. I thought she was an absolute joy to watch, and the character, I think, is one of my favourite Katharine Hepburn characters so far. She offered a lot, and I really liked her. Definitely a film I recommend. It's quite short. I can't remember exactly how long it is. IMDb says it's an hour and 14 minutes, which sounds about right, and that's actually really short for the time. Oh, and I completely forgot to mention, Hepburn won Best Actress Oscar for this, which I completely understand and completely agree with. IMDb says she was not present at the awards ceremony, which is a shame, but truly, truly deserved. Wonderful performance, definitely worth watching. So, at the end of the film, I'll discuss kind of the title and what Eva Lovelace's perspective was, because I don't necessarily agree with it, but I think it's more of a product of its time. So, at the very end of the film, she's giving this little speech about how she doesn't mind being this morning glory and she's willing to give up love to have her career. And I just thought, well, why? You can have a career and you can have love. You can have a love life. You can get married. But obviously, this is a product of its time, and certainly nearly a century ago, which is incredible to think about, women would marry and be wives, and they wouldn't really have a career outside of that. There were exceptions, but that speech made me think how times have changed. Because absolutely, you could have a successful Broadway career and be in love and have a successful love life. Obviously, there are always going to be give and take, and even today, if somebody is completely married to their career, relationships are harder to sustain, but it's not impossible. But in this film, Eva Lovelace seemed like she had to make a choice, and she chose her career. Is that the right decision? Well, I feel like it was for that character. Either way, whether or not that message is completely something I agree with now, which it isn't, I really enjoyed the film, loved the character, completely understand that Oscar win for Katharine Hepburn. Definitely a film I recommend.